This video is based on official Japanese investigation reports and documented evidence. The story you're about to hear represents aviation history's deadliest single aircraft accident, a case where improper maintenance and structural failure created 32 minutes of terror that claimed 520 lives. August 12, 1985. Japan Airlines Flight 123 prepares for a routine 54-minute domestic flight from Tokyo Haneda to Osaka during the height of Obon holiday travel. The Boeing 747 SR-46, registration J8119, carries 524 people on what should be a peaceful journey between Japan's major cities. Captain Masami Takahama commands the flight with 12,424 hours experience, including 4,842 hours in Boeing 747s. First Officer Yutaka Sasaki serves as trainee captain on his evaluation flight, while flight engineer Hiroshi Fukuda manages the complex 747 systems. The aircraft, delivered in 1974, has accumulated 25,030 flight hours and 18,835 cycles. However, hidden within its structure lies a deadly secret, a faulty repair from a 1978 tailstrike incident that has slowly weakened the aircraft's critical pressure bulkhead. At 6:24 p.m., 12 minutes after takeoff, the compromised bulkhead explodes, triggering catastrophic decompression that destroys the vertical stabilizer and severs all four hydraulic systems. What follows becomes aviation's most desperate struggle for survival. This is the story of Japan Airlines Flight 123, how a single improper repair created conditions for an impossible flight control emergency, and how three professional pilots fought against insurmountable odds to save their aircraft and passengers. The story of Flight 123's tragedy begins 7 years before the fatal crash, on June 2, 1978. When the same aircraft J8119 experiences a severe tailstrike while landing at Osaka as Japan Airlines Flight 15. During the landing approach, the pilot excessively flares the Boeing 747, causing the tail to strike the runway with tremendous force. The impact cracks the aft pressure bulkhead, damages the horizontal stabilizer system, and injures 25 of 394 passengers aboard. Boeing technicians undertake repairs at Japan Airlines maintenance facility, tasked with restoring the aircraft's structural integrity. The critical repair involves the aft pressure bulkhead, a dome-shaped aluminum structure that separates the pressurized passenger cabin from the unpressurized tail section. However, the Boeing repair team makes a fatal error. Instead of using a single doubler plate across the entire damaged area as specified in repair procedures, they cut the plate into two pieces and install them separately, creating a gap between the plates. This improper repair reduces the bulkhead's structural strength by approximately 70% around the splice joint. A single row of rivets now carries loads that should be distributed across two rows, creating a dangerous stress concentration point. The aircraft returns to service after completing repair inspections, but the compromised bulkhead begins accumulating fatigue damage with each pressurization cycle. Over 7 years and thousands of flights, microscopic cracks slowly propagate around the improper repair area. Neither Boeing nor Japan Airlines recognizes the repair's inadequacy during subsequent maintenance inspections, setting the stage for catastrophic structural failure during Flight 123's routine domestic service. August 12, 1985 marks the peak of Japan's Obon holiday travel period, when millions of Japanese return to ancestral homes to honor their families. Japan Airlines Flight 123 operates during this busiest travel season with maximum passenger loads. The Boeing 747 SR represents the perfect aircraft for Japanese domestic operations, designed specifically for high-density short-range flights with strengthened structure to withstand frequent takeoff and landing cycles. Flight 123 carries a full passenger manifest of 509 people plus 15 crew members, including families traveling for holiday reunions, business travelers, and tourists exploring Japan's summer destinations. The atmosphere reflects typical domestic flight operations, with passengers settling in for the short journey. Captain Takahama briefs First Officer Sasaki on the evening's flight as part of his captain upgrade training. Their professional relationship reflects Japan Airlines' high training standards and the mentorship culture within Japanese aviation. Flight engineer Fukuda completes pre-flight inspections of the complex 747 systems, finding all parameters within normal limits. The aircraft shows no indication of the structural weakness hidden within its aft pressure bulkhead. At 6:12 p.m. JST, Flight 123 departs Haneda Airport with normal takeoff procedures and excellent weather conditions. The crew manages routine climb procedures while passengers begin to relax for the brief flight to Osaka. Air traffic control clears the flight to 24,000 feet, as the 747 climbs through Japanese airspace toward its cruising altitude. All systems operate normally during the first 12 minutes of what will become aviation's most tragic single aircraft disaster. At 6:24 p.m., 12 minutes after takeoff and climbing through 23,900 feet, the inevitable occurs. The weakened aft pressure bulkhead fails catastrophically. 7 years of fatigue, crack growth finally overcome the inadequate repairs, structural integrity. A tremendous explosion rocks Flight 123 as the bulkhead ruptures, creating a massive breach between the pressurized passenger cabin and unpressurized tail section. Cabin air rushes aft with tremendous force, creating an overpressure condition in the tail. The explosive force tears away the aircraft's vertical stabilizer and rudder, removing the pilot's ability to control yaw movement. Simultaneously, the pressure spike severs all 4 independent hydraulic systems that power the 747's flight controls. Captain Takahama immediately recognizes a catastrophic emergency as the aircraft pitches nose up violently from the explosive decompression. Something exploded, he reports to First Officer Sasaki as multiple warning systems activate throughout the cockpit. Flight engineer Fukuda confirms the worst possible scenario: hydraulic pressure down, all systems. The crew faces complete loss of primary flight controls with only engine thrust available for directional control. The aircraft begins oscillating in uncontrollable pitch and roll movements as aerodynamic forces act on the damaged structure. Without hydraulic power, the massive control surfaces become immovable despite maximum pilot effort on the control columns. Air traffic controllers receive Flight 123's emergency declaration and clear all traffic from the area while coordinating emergency response procedures. However, the crew's situation exceeds all training scenarios as they battle an essentially uncontrollable aircraft. The 747 enters a terrifying flight pattern of climbs, dives, and turns as the pilots attempt every technique possible to regain some measure of control over their crippled aircraft. Before we continue with this heroic struggle, we want to thank our viewers who follow through the pilot's eyes. These investigations into structural failures help us understand aircraft design and maintenance critical points. Your subscriptions help us research these extraordinary aviation survival stories. Captain Takahama, First Officer Sasaki, and Flight Engineer Fukuda begin the most desperate battle in aviation history against an aircraft that defies all conventional control methods. With no hydraulic systems, they must rely entirely on differential engine thrust for directional control. The crew discovers they can influence the 747's flight path by varying power between the 4 engines. Increasing thrust on one side creates asymmetric forces that can turn the aircraft, while power changes affect pitch attitude through aerodynamic moments. However, the missing vertical stabilizer creates severe directional instability that makes coordinated flight impossible. The aircraft oscillates wildly in what pilots call Dutch roll, a combination of rolling and yawing motions that create a terrifying flight experience. Flight 123 traces an erratic path through Japanese airspace as the crew attempts various recovery techniques. They lower the landing gear, hoping to create additional drag and stability, but the aircraft's behavior remains unpredictable. The pilots coordinate their efforts with remarkable professionalism, despite facing conditions beyond any training scenario. Captain Takahama flies while Sasaki and Fukuda work through emergency checklists and coordinate with air traffic control. Air traffic controllers provide radar vectors and emergency airport options, but the crew cannot maintain consistent headings or altitudes. The aircraft climbs and descends in 4,000-foot oscillations lasting approximately 90 seconds each cycle. Despite their hopeless situation, the 3 pilots never give up their efforts to save Flight 123 and its 524 occupants through 32 minutes of unprecedented airmanship. Inside Flight 123's passenger cabin, the explosive decompression creates immediate chaos as oxygen masks drop and cabin pressure plummets. Passengers experience ear pain and difficulty breathing as the aircraft climbs above safe altitude for unprotected humans. The violent aircraft movements throw passengers against seats and overhead bins as Flight 123 oscillates through its uncontrollable flight pattern. Personal belongings become projectiles in the cabin while passengers struggle to understand their desperate situation. Flight attendant Yumi Ochiai, positioned in the rear cabin, observes the structural damage firsthand. She later describes seeing blue sky through holes in the fuselage where the tail section separated, confirming the catastrophic nature of the aircraft's condition. Many passengers write farewell messages to their families on whatever paper they can find, understanding instinctively that their situation may be hopeless. These heart-rending notes will later provide insight into the passengers' courage and thoughts during their final minutes. The cabin crew maintains their professionalism despite the impossible circumstances, helping passengers with oxygen masks and attempting to calm panic while the aircraft continues its wild oscillations through Japanese airspace. Children cry while parents attempt to comfort them, not knowing how to explain the inexplicable situation. The normal sounds of domestic flight are replaced by mechanical groaning, rushing air, and the fear of 509 people facing their mortality. Some passengers near windows observe the aircraft's missing vertical stabilizer and report the damage to flight attendants, though there is nothing anyone can do to change their desperate circumstances. Throughout the cabin, individual acts of courage and humanity emerge as passengers help each other despite facing the ultimate test of human endurance and hope. As Flight 123 continues its uncontrolled flight for over 30 minutes, the aircraft's erratic path takes it toward the mountainous terrain of central Japan. The crew recognizes they must attempt some form of approach or crash landing to save their passengers. Captain Takahama identifies a possible forced landing site and attempts to guide the aircraft toward flatter terrain using differential engine thrust. However, the 747's damaged configuration makes precise navigation impossible despite the crew's heroic efforts. Air traffic controllers provide emergency vectors and coordinate with military aircraft to track Flight 123's position. F-4 Phantom jets scramble to observe the crippled aircraft, confirming the loss of vertical stabilizer and severe structural damage. The crew requests vectors toward Haneda Airport for emergency landing, but the aircraft's uncontrollable oscillations prevent maintaining the necessary flight path. Alternative airports are considered, but none prove reachable given the 747's limited controllability. As daylight fades, Flight 123 approaches the rugged terrain of Mount Osaka in Gunma Prefecture. The mountainous landscape offers no suitable emergency landing sites for the massive Boeing 747. Captain Takahama makes a final desperate attempt to clear the ridgeline using full power on all engines. The aircraft climbs briefly but loses airspeed, entering a stall condition that the crew cannot recover from without functioning flight controls. At 6:56 p.m. JST, exactly 32 minutes after the initial bulkhead failure, Flight 123 descends toward Osutaka Ridge at high speed. The crew's valiant 32-minute battle for survival approaches its tragic conclusion as the aircraft becomes unrecoverable. The three pilots maintain their coordination and professionalism until the very end, representing the highest standards of Japanese aviation and human courage under impossible circumstances. At 6:56 p.m. JST, Japan Airlines Flight 123 strikes Osutaka Ridge at approximately 300 mph, creating a devastating impact that destroys the aircraft and kills 520 of the 524 people aboard. The crash site spreads across steep mountain terrain covered by dense forest. The tremendous impact forces scatter wreckage across the mountainside, while igniting fires that burn through the night. Initial rescue efforts are hampered by the remote location, darkness, and difficult terrain that prevents immediate access to potential survivors. Japanese self-defense forces mobilize rescue helicopters, but poor visibility and mountainous terrain delay the arrival of rescue teams until the following morning. The 14-hour delay proves critical for survival chances of those who initially survived the impact. When rescue teams finally reach the crash site, they discover complete devastation, but also find 4 survivors: flight attendant Yumi Ochai, 12-year-old Keiko Kawakami, and passengers Hiroko Yoshizaki and her daughter Mikiko. The survivors are found in the aircraft's rear section, which separated during impact and provided some protection from the fires and forces that killed the other occupants. Their survival represents a miracle amid the overwhelming tragedy. Investigation teams begin the massive task of evidence recovery from the mountainous crash site. The wreckage reveals the extent of structural damage, confirming the loss of vertical stabilizer and the catastrophic nature of the pressure bulkhead failure. Recovery operations continue for weeks as investigators piece together the sequence of events that led to aviation's deadliest single aircraft disaster. Japan's Aircraft Accident Investigation Commission, assisted by the NTSB, conducts a thorough investigation that reveals the shocking truth: improper repairs from 1978 caused the catastrophic bulkhead failure 7 years later. Metallurgical analysis of recovered bulkhead fragments shows fatigue cracking around the splice joint where Boeing technicians incorrectly repaired the 1978 tail strike damage. The improper doubler plate installation reduced structural strength by 70%. The investigation determines that repeated pressurization cycles over 7 years propagated fatigue cracks from the stress concentration point created by the faulty repair. On Flight 123's final flight, these cracks reached critical length, and the bulkhead failed catastrophically. Boeing's repair procedures clearly specified using a single doubler plate across the entire damaged area, but technicians used 2 separate plates with inadequate overlap. This created a single row of rivets carrying loads designed for 2 rows. Japan Airlines maintenance oversight also receives criticism for failing to detect the improper repair during subsequent inspections. The investigation reveals inadequate documentation and inspection procedures for critical structural repairs. The massive loss of life from a single maintenance error prompts worldwide changes in aircraft repair procedures, inspection protocols, and regulatory oversight. The aviation industry learns that even minor maintenance mistakes can have catastrophic consequences. Boeing implements enhanced repair procedures and training programs, while regulators require improved documentation and inspection standards for all structural repairs on commercial aircraft. As we conclude this investigation into aviation's deadliest single aircraft disaster, we thank our viewers who follow through the pilot's eyes. These studies of structural failures help us understand aircraft maintenance and inspection critical importance. Your support allows us to research these crucial aviation safety stories. Flight 123's investigation fundamentally transforms aircraft maintenance standards worldwide. Boeing redesigned 747 tail sections and provides special covers for access holes to prevent pressure spikes from destroying vertical stabilizers. New regulations require enhanced documentation for all structural repairs and mandatory inspector training on critical repair procedures. The aviation industry adopts zero-tolerance policies for maintenance shortcuts. Japan Airlines implements comprehensive safety programs and enhanced maintenance training while establishing a safety promotion center to preserve Flight 123's lessons for future generations. The crash site on Osaka Ridge becomes a memorial where families gather annually on August 12th to honor the 520 victims. These ceremonies ensure the tragedy's lessons remain alive in aviation consciousness. Captain Takahama, First Officer Sasaki, and Flight Engineer Fukuda receive recognition for their extraordinary 32-minute battle to save Flight 123 despite impossible circumstances. Their professionalism under extreme duress represents aviation's highest ideals. The 4 survivors, Yumi Ochiai, Keiko Kawakami, Hiroko Yoshizaki, and Mikiko Yoshizaki. Flight 123's 52 victims ensure that aviation maintenance can never again compromise passenger safety through inadequate repairs or insufficient oversight. Their sacrifice protects millions of future air travelers worldwide.